All right, I'm here with Tim Faeron. He is a physical therapist in my office building. He's been tremendously helpful to me. And you said something to me this morning that was super interesting about the decade of consequence.
Right.
And can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I found it fascinating.
Okay, the medical phrase for the last 10 years that you'll live is the marginal decade. So in other words, after those 10 years, you're dead. So the preceding 10 years is the marginal decade. Now, we all know people who live those marginal decades in a rather undesirable way. They exist, they don't live. Okay, because physically they're not capable of overcoming the influence of gravity and ground reaction forces. Watching people over 45 years change as they reach that marginal decade, I have dubbed the decade in front of that the decade of consequence. So the way that you arrive at the threshold of the marginal decade is the consequence of the preceding decade. If you've done nothing but sit at the desk and sit over a computer or read or watch TV, then what's going to happen in your marginal decade is you're going to have a very difficult time being upright, moving against gravity, and the likelihood of developing neck problems, back problems is extremely high. And that leads to atrophic changes everywhere. So then you don't get out of a chair, you don't go for a walk. So the decade of consequence, ideally that starts at age 20 and you just keep working, and it's multiple decades so that you arrive at your threshold of the marginal decade fit with a really good habit, an exercise habit that you've built into your life, so that it would feel weird to you and it would feel disharmonious to get unfit. And so you don't. You become an addict to the exercise the way you become an addict to your toothbrush. So that it just happens on a consistent basis. It doesn't have to be extraordinary. You don't have to be Jack LaLanne. But the 10 years right in front of it is a window where you can get fit enough with all the anti-gravity muscles, in particular. What's that? Your back muscles, your butt muscles, everything that holds you upright. Nothing that I'm doing right now. Everything that I'm doing once I'm upright.
So then if I'm understanding, if I live to be 90, let's
Yeah.
say potentially I live to be 90, then you're saying by the time I get to 80, I want to be fairly fit.
Yeah, I'm going to say it this way because people tend to react better to negative feedback than positive for some reason, right? If you arrive at 80 and you're unfit, you're screwed. And for the rest of your marginal decade, you're going to struggle. So the object is, when you see 70, hey, maybe I better get going here, and get going so that by the time that you hit 80, you're actually more fit than you were at 70, because you got a habit that you formed. Then 80 to 90 could be 9 really good years.
Yeah.
Right. So, arrive fit and most importantly, disciplined.
Yeah.